I know one of the guys that started this company, Tuft and Needle.
Oh, yeah?
Ooh, that is comfortable.
Did you give him a BJ?
Nah. Like a half BJ.
Hello, and welcome to episode 5 of the Nothing to Play podcast, a mediocre podcast about video games, movies, and Blumpkins. As always, I'm your host, your boy, Justin Time Carter, and we have a special guest this week for you. Before we start, he's legally obligated to say that he is a registered sex offender. We got Brandon Smith.
Wonderful, thanks. Hi, everybody. And no, that's not true.
Well, I mean...
You want it to be true, but sadly it's not. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to let you down, Justin.
Oh. Well, how have you been?
I've been good. I've been busy. Just lots of life. Lots of working and trying to be an indie game developer in my spare time and raising teenagers and yeah, just lots of stuff. Where do you want to start?
Well, I was like, first I want to start and say that we have a Nothing to Play podcast first. Me and Brandon are actually both in the closet together recording, so this is the first episode where, you know, we're both in the closet.
It's cozy.
You know?
It's cozy.
Cozy. It's hot. It's sweaty. I gave Brandon water though, so he's hydrated.
For now. When this is over, we're both going to come out of the closet together.
Yeah, shirtless.
It might be if it gets much warmer.
So, what have you been working on lately?
I just officially started my own video game company. Got my LLC approved for Renaissance Games. And I actually kind of did it in sort of a reverse order, I guess, because I started working on a game project first before I had a game company name in mind. And that's kind of where the name came from, because I decided a little while back that I wanted to try challenging myself. And RPGs are kind of what I know best. So I decided, let me try making my own RPG. And as sort of a test, or what was supposed to be a test run for myself, I said, let me just try remaking one that I know really well. Just so, I know exactly what it's supposed to be like, and I just practice trying to put all the pieces together. So I took the very first Final Fantasy from the Nintendo Entertainment System and decided to remake that from scratch with some added features added to it and everything. I kind of had a sort of vision in mind of what I wanted to turn the game into, but I said, yeah, let me see if I can remake this game. And 4 or 5 years later, I'm still working on it. But I took my concept or the game that I've been working on, which I'm calling Final Fantasy Renaissance, because it's the same game, the same original base game, but then I'm adding new job classes and new abilities and features and stuff like that to the game, fixing all the bugs that existed in the original game, because it was actually riddled with bugs. Even though it was completely playable, there were a lot of magic spells that didn't work, literally did nothing. Your critical hit percentage on each weapon was driven by some completely different variable. So I'm fixing all those kind of bugs and adding new things to the game, and so I called it Final Fantasy Renaissance, and then decided I should probably put together an actual legal entity to develop my games under. So that's where Renaissance Games came from. So that's kind of my newest news is I got approved for my LLC and got some social media stuff set up and everything. It's pretty cool. It's pretty fun.
I was like, that was pretty quick. That was only a couple weeks? Because it was a couple weeks ago that you submitted for it.
I actually got it approved the next day. I just didn't notice until 2 days ago because I thought they were going to send me an email and I didn't get it. I didn't see one. I don't know if it went to some other inbox or something, but I was waiting for this email and I'm like, man, when are they going to approve this? And I just logged back into the Arizona Corporation Commission website 2 nights ago, and I looked under my documents and everything, and I had this it's like an approval document on there for the LLC, and I went and checked it out. I was like, oh, holy shit, yeah, it's done.
You're like,
I was
I'm
like, wow.
legit.
It was like it was date stamped for the next day after I submitted. I was like, well, fuck. I'm sitting here waiting for nothing.
Dude, that's awesome. Did you have you done like the tax ID or anything yet?
I have not yet, and that's primarily because I have no money flowing in or out of this. And I don't like anticipate that being a thing anytime soon. And that kind of goes into like sort of longer story, but like the whole uh, idea of the game that I'm working on being based on an obviously copywritten game, copywritten material, and Final Fantasy. Um, I don't want to like run the risk of like someone coming after me about like making a copy of this game. So I'm like, I'm not going to be selling this. Like I decided at the very beginning, I am not going to be taking any money for this game. I don't want to like get into any sort of like legal issues. So so I don't have any like income for this company right now. Maybe on like the next game project or something I will. So I'm not planning to like write off any taxes.
I was like, that's true though. If you did get a taxpayer ID when you do your tax, you can like for like your business cards for Indiecade and stuff. Right. Company write off. You need a new computer. Company write off.
Plane tickets.
Yeah, I was like, Square Enix can't come after you for fucking.
Yeah. I'm still thinking about it, but yeah, I want to dance that fine line where I don't make it appear as though I'm earning money from this particular game project.
Well, dude, that's like what was it? There was the one YouTuber dude who was like doing leaks for Borderlands 3 and stuff, and I guess like 2K or whatever sent like he said they sent like suits to his house or whatever to like make him cease and desist and stuff. Yeah. And since then he's like pulled his like YouTube down and like everything because he wasn't stopping.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of obviously cease and desist is like the first thing that would usually happen with something like that. But I know there's other indie devs that are like working on Super Mario themed games, that are very much like taking all the assets of the old Mario games and building a new game out of it. There's some guys right now that are working on a VR version of World of Warcraft. I saw a little while ago.
That's cool.
And I'd sent them an email actually when I saw that project. I'd looked them up online and I was like, "Hey guys," I was like, "Are just curious? Are you guys worried at all about Blizzard coming after you or anything?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, it would suck if that happened, but I figure worst case scenario they send a cease and desist, and then oh well, at least we had some fun for a while." So yeah, just see where it goes.
That's cool. I was like, that's like I remember years ago there was like the Metroid 2, like, because Nintendo remade Metroid 2 or whatever, Return of Samus for the 3DS and stuff, but before that it was like a fan project called like Another Metroid 2 remake and stuff that the dude was like working on it. The dude was working on it originally when I was at Collins, and that was like 2009, and it finally came out in like 2014 or something like that, 2015. But like, and I know as soon as he like released it, Nintendo hit him with like a cease and desist and stuff. But it like lived on forever on like the Pirate Bay and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's the thing, like obviously once you make something and put it out there, it's out there. And they can tell you, hey, stop working on this. what you've already done is already out there. And I know Nintendo is notoriously like strict about stuff like that. Square is notoriously strict about stuff like that. The game I'm working on is kind of like, I don't know if Nintendo has any claim on it, but obviously it was originally out on the Nintendo, and then Square developed it. So I'm like, yeah, I'm probably gonna piss somebody off, but again, we'll see. We'll cross that bridge if we come to it. But then, like you brought up, people remaking like Metroid, or like the guy that did what was the Sonic game? Sonic Mania.
Mm-hmm.
That dude developed the game and then basically got hired to make Sonic games after that, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, there's that whole possibility as well, and not like knock on wood, I'm not expecting that like I'm gonna put Final Fantasy Renaissance out there and Nintendo and Square are gonna be like, oh my god, this is amazing! Like here's some money, come work for us. But I mean that would be freaking amazing. So there's always that kind of like dream in the back of my head. It's like, hey, if I like show that I can make this thing and it impresses somebody in the industry, even if it's not Nintendo or Square or whatever, I can be like, hey, I make classic RPGs and I can, make them cooler than what the source material was, hopefully,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe someone will be like, hey, this is pretty freaking sweet. We want to work with you.
I mean, it was just cool because I played a little bit at the demo and stuff, and it was just cool even just seeing everything like running in 60 frames per second. Like everything looked really smooth, and then even in like Renaissance mode, it was kind of cool starting out with like a blue mage and like a lancer and like all these different classes. But it's like if that's almost like a new game plus, and it's like if you just want that original experience, you still offer that where it's like you don't necessarily have to enjoy all the new stuff. You can just reminisce through the nostalgia of the old one, just in a more, modern sort of format.
Yeah, so a couple interesting things actually. You brought up like what seeing the graphics looking really nice and slick and smooth and everything. Funny thing is, I've pulled all of the graphics off the internet, like all of the original art assets from the game. You can find in various places on the internet, and I've got a handful of like bookmarked sites that I don't remember exactly off the top of my head right now, but where I download like the actual sprite sheets and background sprite images for like the dungeons and everything. So I've got all the same art assets that the original game used. It just looks much crisper on like modern display screens, on modern computer monitors and stuff, because playing it on the NES, you were playing it on an old tube TV back then when it came out, and so there's all those like tracking lines and whatever across the screen. So it's kind of neat just to see that when you take the same old art assets from the original and just put them on a different platform, or run it through different hardware, modern hardware, it makes a very noticeable difference. So that's pretty cool. Also, you mentioned like in Final Fantasy Renaissance, there's Renaissance mode where you have the new job classes. Like you mentioned a couple of them. There's 6 new job classes I added so far to complement the 6 original job classes. And I have a lot of them planned, actually. I've got a total of 24 on my list of new job classes I want to add. And these are all job classes that existed in one of the Final Fantasy games in the series, at least. Like they came from somewhere. I haven't made up any brand new ones necessarily. There's one that's kind of like a little bit of a stretch, but I've pulled like all these job classes from the later games in the series. So there's like Corsair and Puppet Master and Dancer and Bard and Viking, and he was only in like one of the games or something. So like there's all these crazy job classes I'd like to put in eventually, but so for right now there's just the 6 extra ones, but that's in Renaissance mode. And then like you probably saw on the title screen, there's classic mode as well. So I'm basically developing 2 simultaneous versions of the game right now, which is extra. Yeah, which is like an extra challenge. So classic mode is the original game with all the bugs fixed that I can identify. So like all the bugs that people have found over the years that are like, that are known bugs that you can find on the internet, or just little tiny things that I find like, oh, this little graphic right here looks kind of weird. It looks like they missed a couple pixels or something. I'll fill them in. So it's the original game with the bugs fixed, is classic mode. And then there's Renaissance mode that has the extra features. So developing both simultaneously is interesting. Like I mostly started by just getting the classic mode version working, and getting all the mechanics in there and kind of building out what I would call the first act of the game, which is, if you're familiar with Final Fantasy 1, you start off, you defeat the first boss, you defeat Garland, and you move on to another town, you get a ship, you sail across the ocean, you go to the elf town, you go through a couple dungeons, and you collect key items along the way. Oops, I'm banging on walls. Sorry, that's
You're
great
too
for radio.
excited.
Yeah, I'm pumped. Well, it doesn't help you put me in a cage. We're like trapped in this tiny little space. So yeah, in Final Fantasy, you collect all these key items. Sort of like a chain of key items, and you fulfill this little kind of like series of quests, and then eventually you have the ability to blow open this canal that opens up the little central ocean that you've been sort of like circling around, and lets you go out into the rest of the world, and it's a much bigger world. So that first act of the game is what I would consider that opening section until you blow the canal. So that's where my demo right now stops. So I got that whole section of the game working in classic mode version without any of the new job classes or anything. Just got everything working and started adding from there. So that was all I had at that point was classic mode basically. And so then when I said, well, I'm going to add new features, I'm like, why don't I make a separate game mode for this? So then you have the choice, because I was talking to another guy. There's actually this is interesting. In the process of looking up assets for this game, I stumbled upon another guy who was doing the exact same, almost the exact same thing, remaking Final Fantasy 1, but he was doing it in Game Maker. So his is a little bit different, and he's doing it a different way in order to achieve the same thing. But it was really fascinating. I was like, oh my god, this guy's like trying to do the same thing as me at the same time. It was like active. Like I found a few other things where like people had tried to remake the game
And then it's like
and gave
abandoned
up.
years ago.
It got abandoned. There was one thing, someone tried to make like an MMO version of it called Final Fantasy Online or something, and it looked like it got shut down because like their website was like dead. I was like, oh no. Yeah. So someone was trying to do that, and maybe they pissed somebody off. So yeah, so I found this guy that was doing his remake through Game Maker, and I was like, oh my god, this guy's active. I should reach out to him, and like maybe he'll be like, piss off, whatever. But maybe he'll be like, oh, this is cool, and we can like actually like kind of exchange ideas and stuff. And it went that way, which is great. So I like sent him a message or something through the forums, and I was like, hey, I don't know if you'd be at all interested, but I'm actually doing the same thing right now, but in Unity. And your project looks really awesome. I think it's great. I want to give you props for that. I'm like, hey, if you ever want to chat about like some of the challenges that you're running into, or just kind of like bounce ideas off each other, hit me up. And he was like super cool and responded to me right away. And we've been chatting ever since. He's on my Discord server for Final Fantasy Renaissance, and he's pretty active on there. And it's been great because he'd run into a couple challenges with his project, and I'm like, oh, this is how I solved that part. He's like, oh, okay, that's a cool way to do it. And so he'd like implement that, and I was like, hey, I can't find this sound file to do this one sound effect. What the fuck? Like I've got everything else, but this one. And he's like, oh yeah, I got this one because some dude had ripped it off of the NES cart, and I got it directly from him. I was like, oh shit, that's awesome. And so he gave that to me, and like the logo I'm using that says Final Fantasy in all red, he designed that, and I was like, hey, is it cool if I use this? He's like, yeah, man, that's fine. Just give me credit. I was like, sure. So
like sign me up.
it's really awesome. But he was the one that kind of told me like, hey, you're doing a really good job of like recreating the game in its original form, because like his version, he was changing a lot of things. He was like letting you change color palettes on characters and do all kinds of weird stuff. He was changing the way that the battle screen looked, and I was like, no, I want to go with the original game because I want it to feel the way the original did, but just like if it were made today with all these other like features, what would that be like? That was my goal. So he's like, well, that's cool that you're doing that. He's like, there might be like a market for people that really want to have that original experience of the original game, but they can't get it now because all the remakes, for the most part, like they're remade in like 32-bit graphics, like the PlayStation remakes and stuff. Don't look exactly like the original game, and they all change little things. So he's like, yeah, it might be cool if someone was actually like trying to just sort of like keep the original game alive, almost like archiving it, so like new players could like experience it now on their computer instead of having to like dig up an old NES and plug it into a tube TV.
I was like, even then, I was like, the last time, like, I know for Game Boy Advance, they had where it was the Final Fantasy, I forget what it was called, something Souls. Where
Yeah,
it was
Dawn of Souls.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, even then, like, that shit came out in like 2003.
Yeah, and it was updated graphics. It was totally different. And I think in that version, you had the magic points like MP system instead of having a fixed number of spell castings per level, like Dungeons and Dragons style, where it's like, I want to cast a level 1 spell, but I can only cast 4 level 1 spells until I level up, That's the way the original was. And then in like every version since then, they've added MP, like the later Final Fantasies did. But I was like, no, I don't want to change that for my version. I want it to feel like the original. I want you to go into a dungeon, use a spell 4 times, and be like, motherfucker, I can't do anything else. Because that's what the game was like.
Completely faithful.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm trying to go for completely faithful recreation, and then the other mode just adds stuff on there. So that's kind of my goal.
So percentage-wise, how much of it would you say is done to like what the full game is?
So, since I've only got the first act of the game completed so far, like totally playable, like everything in the first act is complete, and that's a pretty sizable chunk of the game, but the second act is really like almost the rest of the game. Like I would say the third act is pretty much just going into the final dungeon, which is like kind of long, but yeah, the next act of the game like is hard to quantify because like you can do things out of order, like kind of do different dungeons in whatever order you want. Um, and so I have to kind of like to make the next part of the game. I pretty much have to create all of the rest of the dungeons because a player might choose to go to the Earth dungeon. Well, you have to go to the Earth dungeon, but then after that, they could go to the volcano. They could go to the ice cave. They could try to go to the Sky Temple. They could go to the waterfall. They can go to like all these different places. In whatever order they want. So like if I just say, oh, the next section of the game I'm gonna make takes you through the ice cave and the volcano, like, well, but then I'm blocking off like all this other content that the original game had available to you at that point. So I really got to kind of do it all at once. I think we'll see how that goes. I'm not sure. It's gonna be a lot to be able.
Or you're just like, this is the only path you can play now, and then you're
right.
like, this is coming soon. You can replay whatever from there if you want.
I mean, I think I might have to, but we'll see. But as far as like percentage wise, like this part of the game, even though I say it's the first act of like 3, I don't know if it's even really 30%. It would probably be more like 20, 25. I want to say 25 because, well, here's the good thing. I said I started on this project like 5 years ago. I started on it like 5 years ago because if I look at my timestamp, actually I think it was 4 because if I look at my timestamps for like my first, like my earliest code commits, because I'm tracking everything in Bitbucket, and if I look at my timestamps, like 2015, sometime in 2015, like May or something, was the first time I committed anything for this game. But I just like dabbled around with it a little bit. I got like my character to be able to move up, down, left, right on the world map, and that was about it. And then I didn't touch it for like almost a year. I just kind of like got busy with work and stuff, and I was like, yeah, I'll get back to that. And then I got like super inspired by something. I was like some game I played or something that made me really want to work on it again. So like a year later, I picked it back up, and I've been like pretty solidly working on it in my spare time ever since then. So for like a few years, all of that progress has gotten me to where I am now. But the good thing is, it's not going to take me 3 years to make the next act or 3 years to make the final act. Or I don't think it's even going to take me like, I hope it's not going to take me more than a year to make the rest of it. Exactly. Knock on particle board. Because that's the great thing about making an RPG. Once you've got all the mechanics done,
it's like most of the work.
That's most of the work. So like the rest is just plugging in dungeons and like job classes and stats and stuff. Like creating monsters, but like all the monster template stuff is done. I just have to say, oh, this monster uses this sprite and these are its stats. Done. And the battle system is done. Like, so aside from adding the new features, like new job classes, like more new job classes, everything else is like basically a template that I just plug information into. So when I go to add new job classes, like more of them, that's going to be time consuming. But what I want to do is get the whole rest of the game finished with just these 6 additional job classes first, so I can get it in people's hands and get people playing it and get feedback and stuff, and then like slowly start releasing like expansions where it's like, here's 2 more job classes, and just do it like that.
That's cool. I was like, I don't remember if it was PJ or if it was you that showed me it, but it was, I know PJ was talking about it, and he was saying about how for like when you level up, because it's kind of like Fire Emblem does it too, where it's like when you level up, then like you get like a random like bonus or whatever to a certain stat thing, whatever, and he showed me like you're programming like this tree like for it, and it was like massive of like all the like possibilities of like stat bonuses and shit, and I was like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Well,
like,
because it's a table.
Like a lot.
It's basically a table for each character, because every job class has very specific set levels that they get a guaranteed like 1-point bonus or 5-point bonus to a specific stat. So like the warrior gets a guaranteed strength bonus like every level, but of like 50 levels. But then like your fighter might get like half that. So like about 50% of his levels he gets a guaranteed strength bonus, and then all the other levels it's like a 25% chance or something like that off the top of my head. And so to do that, like what I wanted to do when I found out the way that it worked, because like doing research online, like there's people that have figured out the mechanics behind this game. This is another thing that makes it so great to remake this particular game because it's been around for so long. It came out in 1987 in Japan, and even though I'm remaking the U.S. version because I'm like not going with like some of the Japanese names and stuff like that. But
You're like, this is what I grew up with.
yeah, it's exactly. And I said that in like my README file. I'm like, this is based on the original Final Fantasy on the NES 1990 US version to be specific, because that's the one I'm focusing on. But yeah, there's people that over the years have like dissected this game and like ripped apart like ROM hacks and stuff and figured out how all the battle calculations work and like these spells that never did anything before. Oh, well, this is what it looks like it was supposed to do based on the code and stuff. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. So I'm taking all that information and basically just trying to like recreate it from that. So all the code is mine. Like I've written it all from scratch, but like the formulas and logic and stuff behind like how things work in the battle system, I'm basically just recreating what was documented online. So yeah, the way that stats work in that game is they just literally have very fixed levels for each job class. And I was like, oh, well, it would be so much easier if I just said, well, the thief gets a strength bonus on 50% of the levels, right? So how about I just have a 50% random roll that happens every time he levels up, and maybe he gets strength and maybe he doesn't. So I tried that first, and then when I started playtesting the game, I was like, in the early levels, sometimes my thief would be just total garbage for like the first 5 or 10 levels because he was getting unlucky and not getting strength rolls, and then sometimes he was just like way too strong, or like same thing with like HP. Some of my characters, like I would take the same job class and create a party of like 4 of the same job class and watch as they leveled up. And one of them's got like 200 HP by level 10, and one of them's like 80. And I'm like, what? That's like completely unacceptable. It's way too different. And so I was like, well, I have to do it the way that they did it then. I have to like level them up at these specific levels. And there's a reason they did that, because they wanted to make sure that you were around a certain strength level at a certain point of the game. I was like, motherfucker, these guys were smart.
That's cool. It's like you think you like cracked it. You're like, right, these guys should have done it this way. And then you put it to the test and you're like, oh.
That's why they did it.
There's a problem here.
Yeah.
Oh, now the real question is Final Fantasy 1 your favorite Final Fantasy?
No, I wouldn't call it my favorite. What's interesting is you
fucking hate this game.
No, I don't. I really don't. I do love it and I appreciate it. I would say I appreciate it now more than all of the others because of the time I've invested in it and how much I've seen under the curtains now on how they built it, how these formulas work, and how difficult it is to do some of the things that they did. Because there's some stuff in that game that I would be stuck on for literally like a month or more just trying to figure out how to do one thing. So like, yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, I have a huge appreciation for that game. I still love that game very much. If I didn't, I don't think I could be working on it for years on end. Yeah. It kind of makes me worried about whatever project I try to pick up after this, because I'm like, I know now that it's going to be something I'm going to be dedicating my life to for years. I better really, really like love this game. But no, I think Final Fantasy VII has always been my favorite, and I know I just sound like a fanboy if I say that. It's also extra bad that Final Fantasy VII was the first one I played, but in my defense, after that game came out and I played it and I loved it so much, and that game got me into RPGs, period. I didn't play RPGs before Final Fantasy VII. I thought they looked stupid. I literally thought they looked stupid. I was like, what? Your character just like takes a step forward and swings their arm and suddenly like there's damage across the screen and the enemy dies. I'm like, that's dumb. But someone got it for me as a gift, like after it came out, and I played it, and I just fell in love with that game, and I loved it so much that, and PJ and I were already like super close friends at the time, and he's like always been into RPGs and always been into Final Fantasy. He's like, oh, if you like that one, you got to play the older ones, and so I went straight from 7 to 1. And I love that.
Big jump.
It's a huge jump, and especially for someone that never played old school RPGs.
Oh, yeah.
I just I don't know, something clicked in my brain when I played FF7, and I was like, I have to play the other ones, and I have to see like what this is all about. And I just got like obsessed with like stats and leveling and job classes and stuff. So Yeah, I still love FF7. It's still probably my favorite, but there's a number of standouts in the series. Like I told PJ the other day, we were talking about FF4, and I said, to be honest with you, FF4 is like my secret favorite because 7 is the one that I think I love the most, but and enjoy playing the most. But 4 is one that when I played it the first time, it clicked with me really well, and like I didn't know anyone else that was really into that one at the time. Um, and I really liked the story a lot. I really liked the characters. And so it's that one that whenever I go back and play it, like in the back of my mind, there's like this little voice that's like, this one's your favorite, right? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I see all these faults with it, and it doesn't have the depth that some of the other ones do, but it's like it's the one that I always like hold like a really dear place in my heart for.
It strikes that chord.
Yeah. But I love like I don't know. I love just about all of them. Like it's hard to put a Final Fantasy in front of me and say this one sucks, doesn't it? I'm gonna be like, no, that game is awesome, but like I understand some of the complaints. There's only one that I will never play again. It's not one of the main ones. It's one of the Game Boy ones. Final Fantasy Legend 2 on the Game Boy.
Oh,
that game pissed me
like
off.
the original Game Boy?
On the original Game Boy, they had a series called Final Fantasy Legend. There were 3 of them. And Legend 2 just pissed me off so much. It was one of those ones where all of your weapons have a durability. Not a durability. They have, like you stack weapons. So you collect like 99 glass swords, right? Mm-hmm. And you use one glass sword in battle and it breaks. Like guaranteed. And I don't remember if all the weapons broke like guaranteed each time, but they were basically consumable. You had consumable weapons.
We can
you
run
just run out. You run out of them, and like all the best weapons in the game, you have very very few uses of them.
You get like 2 swings and it's gone.
Exactly, and like in the last dungeon, the only things that could kill those like enemies, like even the random enemies, were like the best weapons in the game. And I'm like, I'm not gonna use this. Because then I'm not going to have it on the last boss. That's stupid. So the last dungeon in that game, I literally spent, like this is literally how I played the final dungeon. No joke. I would take one step, I would save my game. I would take one step, I would save my game. I would take one step, I'd get in a battle, I'd restart. I just keep doing it because I didn't want to use any of my stuff. So it is awful, and that's like a failure in game design, and that's why I will never play that game again. So it's out there. It's you've heard it here. You heard it here. It's out in the interwebs now. I hate Final Fantasy Legend 2, but all the others love them.
Yeah, when I was younger, I didn't really have like. Kind of like how you said, like, you didn't play, like, you thought they were stupid, like, turn-taking kind of RPG games. Like, I was the same way when I was younger. Like, I mean, I played Final Fantasy 1, and, like, I didn't beat it, but I played 3. And, like, those were really...
Which 3?
The Super Nintendo.
Okay.
6. Yeah. Yes, 6, but it was
I know,
3.
I know. US 3?
Elitist fuck.
Well, here's the thing, though. I hate that they did that. I hate that they released them under the wrong numbers, because now forever there's confusion about which one's which when people start talking about, oh, yeah, I love FF3. Well, which one are you talking about?
Yeah.
I hate that.
Well, that's like, kind of like here, too, with, like, the Fire Emblem series and stuff. Like, the first Fire Emblem that was here came out on Game Boy Advance, but that's really, like, the, like, 5th or something like that, like, jeez. And all the other ones were like on like NES and shit. It's just they never came like over here.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those where it's like, oh, the first Fire Emblem, but like nobody like brings. It's not like Final Fantasy. There's not a fan base big enough around that where there's like a bunch of leaders be like, oh, that is technically not the first one. So it's just.
How about Super Mario Brothers 2, which was based on a completely different game that you can never play now because they basically just like erased it from history.
Ripped off that other game and
they were working on another game and then said, "Oh, fuck this other game. Let's just turn it into Mario." And this other like whatever this game was gonna be is going in the trash. Like that sucks.
You belong to Nintendo now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never played because then I was trying to even remember what. Because, like, I remember playing, like, Advanced Wars and stuff was one of the first... Like, well, Pokemon was technically one of the first turn-based things that I was like, I don't hate this.
Yeah.
Like, but then there was, like, others where I was like, I can't remember, like, I'd play, like, turn-based stuff and then just get my ass kicked. But it's not fair. I'm like, I couldn't even defend myself. And then, like, when, like, Mario and Luigi and stuff came out and they had where you could, like, someone would attack and you could, like, hit a button at the right time and help, like, deflect damage or take no damage. And I was like... all right, I can get behind this. Like, that's fair to me that I have a chance to defend myself. And then I kind of, like, started to enjoy turn-taking games more from there. But
Nice.
I was like, so have you seen any good movies or anything lately?
So we go to movies fairly regularly, but I'm trying to remember what the last one was that I saw. What are some new ones that came out
I know you
recently?
wanted to see Scary Movies to Tell in the Dark. Did you ever
I
see it?
did. I did see that one. That was good.
Yeah,
That was
I
good. I
liked
enjoyed it.
it.
Well, so here's my thing though with that. I love the books. I read all the books growing up. There were three of them, right? There's only three.
Yeah, there's only three.
Like I got into those when I was in like middle school, barely like fourth or fifth grade or something like that, and I was checking them out from the school library. And I was obsessed with those then, like, and I'm not like, especially even now, like more so now as an adult, I'm not into scary movie stuff. I tend to just stay away from them. I'm like, I don't like that feeling. I don't want to feel scared. I'm not gonna do that. But when I was a kid, I don't know, it was more fascinating and stuff. And like I would just like had this fascination with like the macabre and everything. And those books, like, they're legitimately scary as fuck. They really are.
And the art and stuff
Scary as
is
fuck.
just creepy.
The art is the scariest shit I've ever seen. I don't remember the name of that guy, the artist that did that, but dude, I feel like there's something wrong with his brain that makes him draw lines the way he does because like the stringy,
Yeah,
just
just all
like,
withered and creepy
oh
looking.
god, like I have like some of those images from those books burned in my brain like permanently. I can see them right now, and like they still like creep me out just thinking about them. But yeah, those books were super scary. But at the same time, I liked that those books weren't always scary. Like not every story was scary.
Yeah.
Like some of them were just like kind of eerie and
Or like
weird.
weird, yeah.
And some of them were just like there were like a couple. Like, do you remember The Viper? Do you
I
remember
don't
that
remember
short?
that
It was a
one.
short story because they had short stories that were usually at the back of the book. And there's one where like this guy keeps calling this phone. I think it's like an old woman or something that's at home, and the phone rings, and she answers the phone. This guy with like a thick accent is like, "This is the Viper. I'm going to be there at 3:30." And she's like, "Oh my god, what's the Viper? What is this?" And she gets all freaked out, and she's like home alone. And then the guy keeps calling as it gets closer to 3:30 or whatever, and he's like, "This is the Viper. I'm on my way." And like keeps going, and then at the very end she gets a knock on the door, and she like jumps, and she's like terrified, and she goes to the door and she opens it, and this guy is standing there with like a trench coat, and he's like, "I'm the Viper. I come to wipe the windows," and he's holding like a squeegee. And that was in one of those books, and I was like, you think it's like spooky at first.
Yeah.
You're like, "What's the Viper? Oh my god." And then at the end, it's like, "Oh, it's just a joke. Okay." And there's a
then he
few like
kills her.
that. No, nothing like that happened. It's just like that's the end of the story. And so there were little things like that I always liked about the books. That they like, it was like a grab bag. You didn't know what you were gonna get. But here's my problem with the movie. The movie just didn't feel like that. The movie for what it was fine. I thought it was a decent movie. It was a fairly solid movie. But they went a very different direction than what I was expecting and hoping for, where they just created their own story and invented their own characters and they basically made this one cohesive story around these characters,
Yeah.
and then tried to pull some of the stories from the book into it and like make them sort of a backdrop. And they only were able to do a few stories that way because they had to make it fit with this narrative that they were telling with these characters. And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. It worked. But I really would have much rather seen like an anthology thing where it's like, here's this story, done. Here's this story, done. Here's this story. And just like bang, 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 get through a bunch of like these scary stories. Because I think that's the best way to present that. Then you don't have to be like forced into making these like 3 or 4 teenage kids work in all these stories.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if it was on like Amazon Prime or Netflix or something, we could easily do like even just like 12-minute episodes or something of do like two 12-minute like stories per episode or something.
Yeah,
and
they
do
don't
like
need to
a
be long.
season.
Mm-hmm. I think my son was telling me that they were supposedly working on a mini series or something first, and then that didn't happen, and they just decided to make a movie. But I would have much rather seen a mini series.
Yeah, it might have been like more money and something. I'm sure, like, especially you're trying to get Guillermo del Toro on the project. I'm sure he's not cheap. So they're like, all right, we got him. We can do like a almost 2-hour movie.
Yeah,
call it good.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, for being PG-13 though, there was some parts in there that like made me jump. I was like, oh shit. Like,
yeah. Yeah, and that's a good thing too. Like even like the books, like obviously the books are not like rated R kind of
Yeah,
material because like kids
they're for
could
kids.
check them out. Yeah, and they're obviously written more for kids in the sense that like the reading level is not like anything
It's not like
complex.
Stephen King or anything
Yeah,
like.
exactly. And that's why they were so like easy to just pick up as a kid. And so I have no problem with the movie being geared toward kids. That's perfect. That's the perfect audience for it. But yeah, it's still like they did some things like visually that could really like just get under your skin or make you jump. Yeah, so it was good. It was good.
I was like, I just went and saw Ready or Not.
I don't know that
It's
one.
the
I keep
one.
seeing people talk about it, and I haven't been paying
It's
attention.
like this chick, and she marries into this wealthy family, but before she can technically be like a part of the family, like it's tradition that she has to play a game, and it's like
Mm.
random, and then the game she ends up pulling is hide and seek, so she has to hide in this house until
Oh,
this
jeez.
giant old mansion, whatever, until dawn,
Oh
and
my
then the
god.
family like is hunting her down,
I'd be
like.
like, no thanks, I'm out.
Yeah, but she doesn't
I
know.
don't think I need to marry this person.
She didn't know anything about it. Like they were all in on it, but it's like
Oh
she
my
didn't
god.
know. And then like it's like since it's tradition, they like use like these like old timey weapons and stuff like muskets and like a fucking like knight axe and stuff to try and like hunt her down. But it was one of those where it's like kind. I guess I wouldn't even say serious in the beginning, but it's like it's funny. Like it's like the ending's like very funny. Like it's like one of those where it's like you're supposed to kind of like laugh at it in certain parts and
Okay.
stuff. But
I'm
it's,
trying to quietly move your coat
well,
hangers.
you can move the hangers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I keep bumping into them, and I'm like, I know that's coming out in the mic.
I was like, it's fine.
Yeah, it's cozy in here. Did we mention that?
I think I mentioned at the beginning. Are you doing okay?
I'm good.
All
I'm good.
right. I was trying to think.
I've had worse. I used to have a job where I had to crawl around in attics
Oh, that sounds
in
awful.
the summer too. Like there was no like, oh, this time of year we're not going to do that job. No, that we still had to do it.
It's
I was doing audio video installs for like high end homes and everything, and so I'd have to run like cables through the attic and down the walls, and oh man, that was rough. The last day I worked that job actually was the day that I had the job. I got the job offer from the place that I'm currently working, which I've been for like 5 years, and where I do software development, so I get to sit at a computer all day, which is great. Compared to that at least. But yeah, the last day that I worked there, or no, not the last day that I worked there. Never, I take that back. But the day that I got my job offer was one of the. I think it was the last day that I was in an attic though, and so I was out in this job site by myself, and I was like up in the attic doing all this stuff. I'm like sweating my ass off, and then I come back down, and it was like super hot. It was like probably this time of year, summer, and I like I was like down from the attic and I got a phone call and I was like, oh my god, it's the place. Like, I recognized the number in my phone. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna find out if I got this job or not because I'd already interviewed. So I ran out to my car and I like sit in the car and turn on the air conditioning and I like take the phone call and they made the job offer and I was like, yeah, I'll accept. And I was like super excited and I sat out there for a little bit and I was like, I gotta go back inside and go up in this fucking attic and I should not have to do this anymore. I was like a little salty about it, but I did it. I went back up in the attic and like finished my job. But like while I was up there, like the whole time, it was so fucking hot and I could just like feel my heart just like thumping in my chest from like the heat and everything, and I could like barely breathe. I had this mask on and I was like, dude, if I get a fucking heart attack and die in this attic right now, like that would be the worst possible fucking story. Oh my god.
It's like in the movies and stuff. You always see like anytime they go into the attic, it's one of those where there's like the little fucking ladder that comes out. And it's like this attic's like fucking 12 feet tall. I'm like, dude,
Yeah,
every
no.
attic I've fucking been in is like 4 feet tall, and you're
Maybe
like
back
crawling.
east.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no,
was-
the attics I was going in, it's like they get narrower and narrower as they get further to the edge, and I had to go all the way to the edge to get to where like the top of the wall was, so I could drill a hole in the crown and like shove a cable down there. So I'm in like inches of like space and it's filled by freaking
Raccoons.
insulation. No, but it's like filled by insulation, so I'm like swimming in insulation and having to like balance my knees on the freaking like struts or whatever, the beams, so I don't fall through these people's like drywall ceiling. like it's not like the movies.
Dude, have you ever had like installation like rub against your bare skin?
Yeah. Yeah,
It
it's
sucks.
terrible. It's and what's even worse is what people don't tell you is when insulation rubs on your skin, and it's made of fiberglass. It's like fiberglass particles, so it all gets like lodged in your skin, and like you're itchy, but you're like, it's not that bad, whatever. It's just itchy. I'll go home, I'll take a shower, and it'll come off. You go home and take a shower, and most people take like a warm or hot shower because like cold showers suck.
Yeah.
But warm showers open your pores, and then the fiberglass goes deeper in, and it doesn't stop itching for days. So, like, you have to take a fucking cold shower, like, immediately before you, like, because if you're sweating and stuff, it's the same effect. Like, so if you're out there in the heat,
pores are opening
it's
up.
just, like, digging deeper into your skin. It's terrible. So, like, I would, like, wear a suit and everything after that. But, yeah.
Which makes it even hotter.
Which makes it hotter. Makes you sweat like crazy, but at least you don't, like, come home and have, like, fiberglass, like, parties in the shower.
Oh man, I was like, what was one of the other movies? Like, I know next week I'm gonna go see. It's the I know it's airing like this week and stuff, but The Matrix 20-year anniversary.
Oh, are they doing like a marathon?
It's just the first movie.
Oh, okay.
It's like the 20-year anniversary of the first movie.
They did one of those. You know how like sometimes at Harkins and stuff they do like classic movie nights, and I hate to say that The Matrix was considered a classic movie, I guess, because they did it at one of those.
I was like, I mean, it did come out in
while.
like 1999, I think.
I think so.
One came out because I was like 9. Because I remember I was like
sounds about
11 or something when like the second one. Because
Yeah.
I've seen them all in theaters, but I know I
Yeah.
was just really young when I saw the first one.
Yeah, so I took my son to see the first one when it came to the classic movie thing at Harkins, because he had seen it, but he had maybe seen it once, and he had never seen it in the theater because he was born in 2003.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to go see that in the theater because he was like, even before we went, he's like, I remember seeing that movie. I liked it. He's like, do you think it'll be like better seeing it in the theater? I was like, I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy it seeing it in the theater. And like, it got to the scene, you know what I'm talking about? Like, I don't remember what they called. There was like a name for the scene in the first movie where they had all the guns and go into the building and everything.
Oh yeah.
But he was just like, dude, he was loving it.
Well, yeah, dude. And then like, I remember that shit was like mind bending. Like back, that was like cutting edge like shit like back in the day and stuff.
Yeah.
And
all the bullet time stuff.
Yeah, that's why I'm excited to see it too, because Megan's actually never seen it.
Really?
Ever.
Like the first one?
Any of them, she's never seen it. Even though we own them on DVD, she's never seen them. So I was like, I'm not gonna tell you anything. I don't want you to even look it up. I was like, all she knows is like Keanu Reeves in it, and she said it's like about machines or something. I'm like,
you're like,
okay,
that's good enough.
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, don't think about it anymore. Yeah.
Stop there. Let it surprise you. Go in and let it just wash over you. So you're not one of those haters that doesn't like the other movies, are you?
So I love the second one.
Yeah.
My only complaint about the third one is I was kind of miffed seeing the second one in theaters because it's like they had a trailer for the third one already lined up like at the end.
Did they?
After
I don't remember seeing that.
After the credits of the second one, they had like a teaser thing like for the third movie. Yeah. So I was just like, fuck, like it's like they already had footage and shit.
They already had,
it.
like,
so I'm like,
give it to me.
I'm like, it's like they already filmed most of it, and they were like, we have enough footage to make 2 movies.
Right.
So they did. Where I felt like they honestly could have like cut the 2 movies into like one.
Because I feel like certainly could.
Because the third one like is like really slow in the first half, and then like of course the giant fight with all the Smiths at the end. But I'm like, dude, this could have been like 2. But I love the second one with the Keymaster or whatever, and they're like running through all the doors and stuff.
The ghosts were pretty cool, and the freeway scene was amazing.
They kick him off the top of the truck, and he like phases back through onto the motorcycle.
Like phases into the back seat of the car, like just sitting back there again. Yeah. Dude, it was so cool. And like Morpheus fighting on the top of the semi truck and everything, and like falling over the edge using the fucking katana. Like, I love that movie. Yeah, no, I like all the movies. You know, I don't really have any real serious complaints about any of them. I get the big complaints that people have about the second and third. They just didn't bother me that much, quite honestly. But yeah, I mean, I agree. 2 and 3 could have been one movie. They clearly made it together like one movie. I'm always a little bit like miffed by when you put to be continued in the second of a a 3-part
Yeah.
movie series. I'm like, well, that's weird. It's not like it's a TV show, so it just felt a little weird when that one
because
came out in
it's
the
like
theater.
every time they do that, it's just kind of annoying because it doesn't have a definitive ending. Like
Right.
at least with like the first one, it
Yeah.
like had a definitive ending. It's like
Yeah.
they're gonna do a sequel, but it's over. Like it's an
Yeah.
ending.
Yeah, exactly. If I go see a movie in the theater, I much prefer it to have a beginning, middle, and end and feel complete,
Yeah.
even if you're leaving like a thread for
Yeah.
like where this might go. That's fine, but yeah, at least I don't know if this is a good example, but like Empire Strikes Back, it felt more like it had a conclusion. It just didn't end with the good guys winning.
Yeah.
And Matrix 2 could have done the same sort of a thing, I think. But anyway, I don't know. Let's just remake them. That's the next thing. I decided my next project. I'm going to remake The Matrix. Oh, I don't know anything about filmmaking.
I was like, you can remake the video game Enter the Matrix.
Oh my god. I never played that one. I had a friend that played it, and I watched like probably 60% of that game back when it came out, but all I remember is it being riddled with bugs and everybody crapping on it, but
Yeah.
it looked cool.
Like it was one of those things where it's like looking back on it now, it's like bad, I guess, but like at the time, like being a kid, like it came out around I think the time of the second Matrix Reloaded.
Mm-hmm. Well, wasn't it right before? I think it was right before Reloaded because it kind of set up some of the Reloaded stuff.
I remember renting it from Hollywood Video on GameCube, which tells you how long ago that shit was. But it's just one of those things where it was like, I was like so excited. I'm like, Matrix, I'm like, you do slow-mo and you like run on walls and like shoot. So it's like even like the story I think in the game like wasn't that great, and it did have a lot of bugs and stuff. It was like one of those like you're like, even though I'm like I want to play as Neo and you couldn't, and I was like fuck. And then they came out with Path of Neo, but then that shit was only like a PS2 exclusive, and I didn't have a PlayStation at the time.
Did you ever check out the MMO that they made, Matrix Online? I never did either, but it seemed like the greatest idea. Like that's the perfect way to play a Matrix video game where you can actually be online with other people. Except I'm sure everyone's just basically trying to be the one, which is weird. But I don't know. I never played it. I don't know enough about it, but it just sounded like a cool concept. It's probably not even online anymore. I haven't looked.
I'm assuming probably months after it launched, it wasn't online anymore.
I don't know. I think it was going for a while. I think it was. Could be wrong. Yeah, I love The Matrix. It's a great property.
Well, dude, that's like, I know they're making a fourth one.
Yeah.
And at first,
I'm super curious about where that's going.
So, because like when it was initially announced, I was like, are they rebooting the first one? I'm like, is it a sequel? Is it a prequel? Is it a
prequel? Because it's got Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss are coming back. I just heard the other day.
Yeah, so I'm like,
it would have to be a prequel, right? Unless they're doing some alternate like.
So.
Maybe they rebooted them. Maybe they're like they made new versions of, because like Neo was like the millionth one or whatever. Like they kept doing that same cycle.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like the next generation of Neo and Trinity.
That's kind of what I was almost thinking was like if I had like my idea of it was like it's like in the future now, and it's like the world's still like shit, and it's like in order to like fix it or whatever, it's like this dude like goes and like has to find, they're like, this has happened before or whatever, it's like almost kind of Terminator-ish, and it's like they find like Neo and he's like all old and shit, and they have to go into like the Matrix to like fix it and stuff, and it's like he's like all hooked up to machines and stuff, and like
he's all overweight. He looks like he comes in and he looks like Jeff Bridges in like Tron Legacy with the beard and everything, and he's like, but he walks around like God,
He's like, how long has it been?
Yeah. That'd be great. Oh fuck, I was just gonna say something. What was I thinking?
Penis.
No.
Oh.
No, I was thinking that right up until this, and then it was something else. It was something Matrix related. Damn, it'll come back to me.
You lost it.
I know. I hate when that happens.
I was trying to think like anything else. I mean, I'm gonna go see Rob Zombie's new movie comes out this month too, and we already got 3 from Hell, which is a sequel to Devil's Rejects. So me and my friend Jonathan, it's like a 3-night event, so we're going like the first night, and you get like a little poster and stuff.
Nice. Oh, I remembered what I was gonna say. On the Matrix, did you ever see the video on YouTube about how Agent Smith is the actual chosen one from the Matrix series?
I remember hearing that theory, but I never watched.
It's so good. Like legitimately, after I watched that video, I was like, if this is not true, if this is not what they were trying to tell you, I want it to be. I want this to be like the canon like explanation for like the way that those movies play out, because it makes so much sense. It really does. Like the Oracle created Smith. Like he even calls her mom in the last movie when he assimilates her and everything. Like she created him. I don't remember all the details. I wish I could, but you got to find the video about like look up Agent Smith is the one in the Matrix or whatever, and you'll find it. It's just so great because it's like basically the Oracle played this game the whole time where she created. I think she was behind creating Neo as well, but she also created Smith. And like the two of them sort of like the two together was like this dichotomy that like one without the other couldn't break the system, but the two of them together doing it in different ways where like Neo was fighting the system from the outside while Smith was breaking the system from the inside or something. And and the whole thing about Smith assimilating everyone and getting the Oracle's code was like all part of the plan. Which is why it showed the Oracle laying there at the end, because like she was like carrying the final like piece of the code or something like that like I don't remember. It's like she carried like the kill switch or whatever that had to be sent to the Machine City, something like that. I don't remember, but man, it's like really well thought out, and like they explain it super well, and I was like, this is fucking amazing. Like if you think about the whole remember in the second movie when he's unplugged at the beginning of the second movie, after what happened in the first one where Neo like imprinted part of his like code or whatever onto him by letting him come inside of him, and then can we edit that?
No, that's what happened.
That sounded terrible. When
enter the mattress.
Yeah. Oh my god. But yeah, you know what I mean. The first movie.
Yeah, you came inside him.
Yeah. He makes him explode. But then. This is a whole different movie now. The second movie, Smith is unplugged, and he has that line to Neo where he says, after what happened, I knew what I was supposed to do. I knew where I was supposed to go. I was compelled, And what he's like referring to is how later on in that movie, the Oracle tells Neo, well, he has to go to this place. He has to go to the source, and there's a place where there's a door, and you have to get the key and whatever. Well, when Neo goes there, he goes to find the key maker, and Smith is already there. He's coming out of the doors on the sides and everything to stop him. Well, how did Smith know where to go? It's because Smith was following the same path that Neo was, because he was really the one who was supposed to, but Neo had to go to like kind of like open up things along the way for him or something like that. It's like Neo was like the herald, but Smith was the one who actually had to like go down the path. And the Oracle basically created him knowing what he needed to do. He was like a Trojan horse in the system that was like following along this path. It's crazy. You gotta check it out.
I was like, that reminds me a lot of have you ever played the game Braid?
No.
Oh man, so do you know?
I know
like,
what it is. I know about it, like the time reversing mechanic and stuff.
Yeah, like that's like one of my favorite games. And it's like you go throughout before each level. There's like books that you kind of read, and it pertains to like the chapter or whatever, and kind of like the general themes of like what's going on and stuff. But it's like. And it's like it has like a lot of themes of like regret and like whatever it is he's like telling the story. But it's like you get to the end of the game, and the chick or whatever that you're trying to save is like on top, and you're on the bottom, and there's like you're like trying to like someone's like coming after her or like whatever, and it's like you're like opening things like for her and stuff like that to help her try and like get through. So it's like you have to like match up and then like rewind time. But then you get to the end, and it's like someone gets her or like whatever, and it's like time stops, and then you have to rewind time. And when you rewind time, you see that you weren't helping her, you were trying to stop her, and you were the bad guy all along.
What?
She was running from you, and you were the bad guy throughout the entire game, and you didn't realize it. Shit. And so when you play things backwards, you like see it for like what it was, and you're like, and the person chasing her was genuinely trying to save her from you. And you're like, oh shit. And then like at the end like I've read, I saw, I never did it, but there was like if you got like everything in the game and like the special thing, it's like this like giant like like white like explosion like happens or whatever, and like supposedly it's like a, the whole game's kind of almost like a giant like level about like it's like about the atomic bomb
I had heard
and stuff.
something about that once, and I was like, "What are they even talking about?" Because I heard that like theory or
Yeah,
that explanation or whatever.
which
And
I was like, that's weird.
just seeing like the game on the surface, like in passing, I was like, "What? I don't even understand how it could. What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and Oswald has joined us in the closet, and
Hey,
he's
Oswald.
fat as fuck. I was like, have you played any cool games lately?
I don't get to play as many games as I would like, as I'm sure you can relate to with working
Oh,
on
yeah?
a game. It's like, isn't that like the game developer's curse? Like, I love games so much, I want to play them all the time, I should make them. And then you start making games and you're like, I have no time to play anything.
Yeah.
I still play Final Fantasy 11 a little bit, the online one, the MMO. I was like really hardcore into it years ago, back when it was like new and it was more popular and stuff, before 14 came out and stuff. PJ played with me and everything. We played that for a long time. And I haven't played on the retail servers in quite some time, but a couple of my friends in like Washington, they got onto a private server. And so there's a number of private servers out there, just like fans basically have like created their own Final Fantasy 11 server, where they downloaded like data packets from the retail version and like basically recreated everything, kind of like, like I'm recreating Final Fantasy 1. Like there's people that are like, in a sense, like recreating Final Fantasy 11, because they've just like, done all this like packet sniffing stuff to like get all the data that was used for sending and receiving to the actual Square Enix servers or whatever, Play Online servers, and people just created their own servers that have all the back end code, and you can play the whole game or as much of it as they've been able to recreate. You can play it like for free. The private servers are free and stuff. They're just like fewer people on each server. But I started playing that again a while ago on this private server, and that was a lot of fun. So I still like dabble in that. I'm in a link shell, which is like a guild in that game. And we have events like a few times a week. And I was playing like daily for a while, but now I got to the point where I pretty much have all the stuff that I had in the retail version of the game. And I'm like, yeah, I should do some other stuff, but like I've sort of accomplished all the things that I wanted to back then. So I just pretty much log on like a couple times a week for these events right now. But that's like the most consistent game time I get lately. I've picked up a couple games here and there, where whenever like I finish like a big milestone in my project, I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna take like the weekend off and play a game. And so I played through like I'm late to the party on a lot of games. I get things like when they go on sale on Steam after they've been out forever. So I just finally like somewhat recently played through Limbo and Inside.
Yeah.
Those are good. I like those.
Yeah, I love Limbo. I still haven't played Inside yet.
Oh, really?
It's actually, I know this month for the Epic Store and stuff, it's one of the, that and Celeste were one of the freebies and stuff. So it's like, nice. I have it, I just haven't played it.
That's a good one. I think you'd like it.
Yeah, I've heard it's really good. I'm like, and I loved Limbo. Like,
if you love Limbo, I mean, like the mechanics of Inside are very similar, and they just like it gets a little bit deeper with some of the puzzles and challenges and stuff. It's pretty cool. It's like a perfect evolution, and it's got a pretty crazy ending. So so yeah, I think you'd enjoy it.
I'm all about that.
I finally got around to downloading what's it called? Final Fantasy something. The World one. What is it? World of Final Fantasy. Yeah, duh. The one with the world in the name. World of Final Fantasy. That was on sale a little while back on Steam, so I got that, and that was actually it's been surprisingly fun. I mean, I love Final Fantasy games anyway, but that was one that flew under my radar for a while, and I never heard anybody talking about it. And I was like, oh, it must not have been good. But I finally checked it out because I saw like some little clips of it. Again, as I'm like researching for my Final Fantasy 1 remake, I'm like looking up like summon spells and stuff from the older games, and like trying to find like graphics, because I was creating the Evoker Summoner job class in FF1. and so I was like, I had to recreate like all of these summons in like Nintendo looking graphics. So I'm like looking for like different versions of each of the monsters, and I stumbled upon like some videos of like summon spells in World of Final Fantasy. I'm like, this game actually looks really cool. So I've been playing that a little bit. I haven't touched it in about a week, but it's really fun. It's if you like Pokemon, it's surprisingly similar to Pokemon in like a very like core way, which is you are basically just capturing these monsters, like Final Fantasy monsters from the series, and a bunch of like new things that they've created. You're just capturing them, and you capture them in these little balls that they call what do they call them? It's like some
Moogles.
No, it's like a something sphere or whatever, tesseract or whatever.
Tesseract.
But it's like it's this thing that's supposed to be like a tiny little world, like a miniaturized world that's to scale or whatever, and that's where they live. And then like you can open it up and let them out. But like you capture them in battle, just like in Pokemon, and you call them out. Well, you don't really call them out in battle. What you do is you like you go into battle with. It's kind of a weird concept. I still think it's silly, but it works. You've got your two main characters are basically like humans, and then each of them can stack up to 3 monsters on top of their head. And when you stack them, your stack gets a shared like HP, MP pool, and like all the abilities that each of the monsters have, you can use with your stack. But then you have the option to unstack if you want to do things separately, and there's like sometimes you might want to. There's some weird strategy to it.
Some benefit to it.
Yeah, but it's a fun game. The story has actually been pretty captivating so far. It's got some pretty interesting like villains that they're starting to introduce. So I'm curious to see where it goes. Yeah, like production quality is really good. The battles are fun. So yeah, it's a good one.
Dude, that's cool. I was like, I've still just been playing Fire Emblem Awakening on the Switch, and then jumping back and forth between that and Mario Maker.
Yeah, I heard about you making some levels in Mario Maker. I saw one of your things actually on, I don't remember if it was on Facebook or what. Somewhere you had like because you made like 2 or 3 levels, right? There's like a series.
Yes, no problems.
Yeah, I saw that.
Matt fucking hates him.
Mm-hmm.
He's a dick.
Well, Matt's a hater.
Yeah, he
so
is.
I don't know what what else you'd expect.
But like I know, like the remake of like Link's Awakening comes out this month on the Switch, and I really want. Do you have a Switch?
No, I don't. There hasn't been enough games on there. So
I was like, they brought all the Final Fantasies to it now, so it can be your portable Final Fantasy machine.
I did not know that actually.
Yeah, it has 7 and 9 and 10.
Oh no, yeah, I knew about the recent ones, the more recent ones. No, for whatever reason, 8 is conspicuously missing.
It's coming.
Is it coming?
Yeah.
But do they have like the really old ones though?
I don't know.
Yeah, because I heard about those ones. If they had like, I mean, I don't know. I was gonna say if they had Final Fantasy 1 on there, maybe I'd want to pick it up so I could have like a portable version of testing the game. But like it's always a different version anyway. That's the thing. Like it's been tough like trying to research some of the things about how the game works. Like there's times when I want to like check how does some graphic in the game look. Like there's like an animation that happens when you cast a spell. Well, how many frames of animation does it have? If I go look up videos on YouTube, I'm looking at an emulated version of the game, and it's not always exactly the same because I'll check it on my NES, and I'm like, oh, no, that doesn't look the same. So now I have to like record it with my cell phone watching the screen, where I'm playing on my Nintendo, just so I can like slow it down and like pause and try to recreate it myself because, yeah, like every version of the game is different. But yeah, no, I didn't know. I hadn't heard if they put like all of them on there. I knew about 7 and 9 at least.
Yeah, most of them are on there. I know 8's supposed to be coming. I don't know if it's later this year or early next year, but
nice. I've been waiting to replay 7 honestly until the remake because I've played through the game exactly 6 times. I don't always remember how many times I played through each Final Fantasy, but that one I remember specifically. I played through it 6 times.
You're waiting for the 7th
and I'm waiting because the 7th
remake.
time I want it to be on the remake because I'd heard that they were like I was thinking about playing through it again a while back, and then I heard about the remake and I was like, no, I'm gonna wait for the remake, and now it's been like years. But it's coming now. It sounds like it's going to be pretty awesome, so I'm looking forward to that.
Even though it's going to be like a completely different experience from...
I'm all about that though. That's fine. Like I played the game 6 times. I don't need to play the same game again. Like I want to see it new, like next gen graphics with an more active battle system. And I've heard like the way that it played at E3 is just like awesome. It sounds great. I can't wait.
Well, and that's like my favorite Final Fantasy game I have played is Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII
Really?
on the PSP. Just because I do like that style of like the running around, and then I think it's cool that like it does like the bingo kind of like slot machine thing, and then when you get it does the summon and stuff. And
That was the one where you're playing as Zack.
yeah,
right?
yeah, you were playing as Zack,
Yeah.
and then
It had like the other guy that he worked with.
yeah,
who had
his
dark
like
hair.
leader and stuff,
Yeah.
and then he like kind of goes.
I never
and it's-
played that one because I didn't have a PSP. But I watched through like the videos of the like a full playthrough of the game on YouTube. Man, that game is long.
It is very long.
That game, like, I was like, when is this gonna end? It was okay, like honestly, like there were some little story bits in there that I was like, oh, this is really cool, like some cool backstory. But man, they really milked it. They really dragged that thing out.
Yeah,
And it goes into some weird ass places.
but Cloud's in it,
Yeah.
so you could get your Cloud fix.
Get your Cloud fix. I never thought Cloud was like the most interesting of characters, but I don't know. I think it's partly just the way that the story was delivered in the original, because you had to read everything, and if you're not picking up on some of the emotion behind the dialogue, maybe, or you miss key things here and there. Because that game, when it came out, I was like 15, maybe something like that. I don't remember. But I was a teenager, and like, again, it was my first RPG too. So like some of the depth of what was going on in the story, I wasn't used to in a video game. So I know that a lot of it went over my head because I played it many times since, and every time I played it after that, I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, I didn't get that before. Because that game's got some stuff that happens in it that it's like subtle with how they explain it, and if you aren't really paying attention or you're not thinking too deep into it, like they're not like, it's not like in your face, like, hey guys, here, let's spoon feed you the story. You have to kind of like read between the lines a little bit because it's weird. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing it with voice acting and like just a much more updated way of delivering the story. I think it's going to be a really cool experience. So totally on board.
Is there any other games you're looking forward to?
Why do you look at me? Why do you look at me like a creeper when you say that?
Is there any other games you're looking forward to?
That's just the way you look at me.
Well,
Well, what's funny is people don't know that we're sitting in the closet and we have this like divider between us. So for you to talk directly to me, you have to like lean forward
over.
and like peer around the wall like Jack Nicholson in The Shining or something. It's super creepy. Any other games I'm looking forward to? What's coming out? I'm trying to think of even what's coming. I'm such like a bad gamer because I don't buy games regularly or like really follow them or get like that excited about stuff. Like sometimes I'm like, I listen to podcasts about games, so I'm hearing about things that are coming. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that sounds cool, but then I kind of forget what it was or when it comes out.
Goes off into the back of your mind.
Right.
Somewhere.
And then it comes out and like I hear people talking about it. I'm like, oh yeah, that game sounded cool. I should probably check that out. But I don't know if I have anything really on my radar right now, to be honest. I don't know. Hit me with something. What's coming?
Well, I know next week Gears 5 is coming out.
Yeah, I never played those.
See, I'm getting that.
I'm such not a mainstream gamer.
Well, like, I mean, that's one of the few, like, main, like, series, like, I don't play Call of Duty, I don't play Halo, I don't, like, do, like, but it's, like, one of the few, like, run and gun kind of games that I'm like, yeah, sign me the fuck up for that. Like,
I've heard great things about it.
Yeah, I was like, because me and Megan I used to play Horde mode with, like, my friends all the time on it and do, like, whatever, so I'm just excited for it.
I could probably just make you vomit with my list of old games that everybody's played that I haven't, that I've already bought and downloaded on Steam, that I haven't played yet. Because that's like the way that I play now, is like, I'm not, like, trying to get all the new games. I'm like, I'm trying to catch up on all the games that everybody's always been telling me I need to play, that like years later I find like a week or two and I try to play it, you know? Like I got Alan Wake because I've never played Alan Wake,
Oh,
and
jeez.
I've heard it's amazing, and I
Yeah.
want to play that one. And
Well, especially since that company's new game, just Control,
yeah,
their new one just came out. I've heard really good
and I was
things
just
about
hearing a
that.
review on that, and I was hearing that it has nods to their older games, and I was like, well, fuck, I should play the older games.
You're like, oh man, I should buy Alan Wake.
Yeah. Yeah, I bought it. I got it on Steam and downloaded it before, because they took it off of there, I think. I think they took it off of Steam a while back because of copyright issues with the music in the game, or licensing issues or whatever. Yeah, because they had licensed songs in Alan Wake, and like their permission to use those expired, because you have to like apply or whatever,
Yeah.
pay for the ability to use those things. So yeah, I guess they took it down, but I got it before they did. So
That's like what happened with Scott Pilgrim versus the World on like the Xbox 360 and stuff. Like when the movie came out and stuff, like it had the game,
oh yeah,
but then it's like and it was successful and stuff. But then they lost the license to Scott Pilgrim.
oh shit,
So then they had to remove the game from the. And it's like you literally can't buy the game anymore.
That's
it was only on
stupid.
Xbox. Like
that's obnoxious.
so, but it's like I have it on my 360. It's like on there forever, but
yeah,
it's like you can't ever get it.
that's so dumb. Why didn't they just change his name, call him like Schmott Schmilgrim or something?
Yeah, you're like Joseph Palgrim and
versus the continent of North America.
But because I got Alan Wake back in like 2009, so before I think it ever got pulled or anything.
Nice. Oh, you know what I've been waiting to play is Life is Strange 2, because I loved Life is Strange, and I played like the extra little like games they've made since then. There's the prequel and
The one with where it's the kid who thinks he's like a superhero.
yeah, Captain Spirit.
Yeah,
that
there
was
we
really
go.
cool. I really like that one. It's short, but it was a neat little story. But yeah, I've been waiting. The second one has been out for a little while in parts, because it's one of those ones they release in
Episodic,
chapters,
yeah.
and episodes. And I know that episode 4 is out now, and I gotta look to find out how many that they had planned, because I feel like they were supposed to be doing 5 episodes.
I was gonna say I think most of them are usually like 5 or 6.
Yeah, I think the first game was 5 episodes. I'm pretty sure it was. So I've been waiting for all the episodes to come out, because so when I played Life is Strange, the first one, it was well after it was done, and I don't pay attention, and so it flew totally under my radar. And then something about it caught my attention on Steam one day, and like the first chapter was free, and I was like, oh yeah, let me check this out, and I loved it. So I got the whole thing and played it, but it was all out, so I was able to just plow through it in like a week. And so Life is Strange 2 started coming out. I was like, dude, I'm not going to play one chapter and like be waiting and want to play the next one. So I'm doing the opposite and just waiting for the whole damn thing to come out. But yeah, I really want to play that. The first one was great.
Dude, have you ever played Pony Island?
No.
It's on Steam. Dude, if it's on sale, I'd pick it. It's one of those where it's like, I can tell by the name Pony Island, you're like, what the fuck is this? And it's like one of those where
There better be ponies.
Well, there is ponies, and there is an island, but it's like one of those where it's like...
But it's like Dr. Moreau's Island, and they're just like slaughtering ponies.
It's like what it presents itself as isn't at all what it is.
Is this like a Doki Doki Literature Club
Yes.
experience?
Yes.
Oh my god.
but not in the sense of like I mean, Doki Doki, it was still what it was. It just kind of took like a real major turn towards the end, where this is like what you think it is, and then like as soon as it's like this is what's happening, and then it's like this is the game, and you're like, oh. It just like keeps like getting weirder and weirder as you're playing. You're like, what is happening? Because it's like the whole kind of premise is like you basically get like, it's almost like the game itself is a computer desktop, and it has the pony.exe game on it, and it's like someone's like, hey, play this game, and then it's like you're playing it, and then it's kind of like you find out that it's basically the devil is telling you to play this game, and then you can't stop, and then like he's like, oh, I made an update to the game, and like it like fucks shit like up, and like it makes it like unbeatable. So then it's like you go in and like undo code and like fuck up shit to like
Okay.
just make it beatable, and then that like pisses him off. So then he's like, well then I'm gonna update and fuck you, and then like sends you like emails and stuff, and
Oh
like
my God.
and then someone else is like
That's
Skyping
nuts.
you to like tell you that he's like fucking shit up. And then like if you're playing on Steam, it uses like the Steam chat thing like against you, and he's
Oh,
like
shit.
chatting with you. He's like, I told you not to
Oh
fuck
my
with this, like
God.
blah blah blah, and it's all like corrupted. I'm like, what the
Oh,
fuck?
man.
Like it's so good.
That's a trip. It reminds me of the end of Undertale if you play it like the balanced way the first time through, which is what I did. Where I did a little bit of like killing things, a little bit of saving things, and you get that ending with Flowey the flower. And I was like, what the fuck is happening?
And then you play it again, and everyone remembers what you did,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
then treats you like shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kill people.
That was my first time through Undertale. That was like the best experience because that ending blew my mind. I loved it. Like after that, then I tried to do the whole like pacifist thing, and then the whatever the other one is where you kill everything. And it just never. Those endings just didn't have the same effect to me. That first one just blew my mind. I was like, this is amazing.
Have you played Deltarune?
No.
Oh man, I was like, that's
Is it similar?
it's made by the same person.
Yeah, Toby Fox.
Yeah,
I saw that.
yeah, it's like the same, and that's like kind of like, it's also going to be kind of episodic, I believe, and so it's like the first episode's free.
Oh, okay.
And-
It's not completed yet.
No, I mean it's
okay.
out. I know he's working on the next one, but it's like one of those things where,
I've seen it's already got music on like Spotify.
oh yeah,
good
the music and
The
all
music
of it's
and
great.
yeah,
Like-
Undertale's great
like,
too. Love that soundtrack.
yeah, Undertale and like Electronic Superjoy are like the two soundtracks I like listen to all the fucking time.
Nice.
But no, it's good. But it's like one of those two where it's like you can tell it's in the same kind of universe as Undertale, but you're like, is it a prequel? Is it a sequel? Is it like an alternate universe within this world? And like it never really says, but
Okay.
there's like certain characters from Undertale in it, so you're kind of like, okay,
Interesting.
like so yeah. So I'll be kind of interested to see where that goes.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I love that music. Yeah, that's one soundtrack I listen to a lot. I use Spotify regularly, like at work and everything. I'm just listening to music while I work. Since I'm writing code, it's easy to have something on in the background. That's a good one. Horizon Zero Dawn. I love that soundtrack. Did you play that game?
I watched Megan play it. I think she got like
I
about
love that game.
I want to say she got like at least like 60 or 70% of the way through it, but then just I don't remember what happened, but then she quit playing it.
That was one of my top 3 favorite games of all time. That one, Final Fantasy XI, just because I've spent so many years of my life playing it. Because like I played that game with like my best friends for like years, so it's kind of like a personal experience more than just the game. And then the other one's Shadow of the Colossus. Love that game. Yeah, Horizon soundtrack is phenomenal. The game is phenomenal. I don't know why I'm whispering.
Yeah, I don't know why either. I'm like no one can hear you.
You fucker! Speak up.
I also saw. Did you play the Negative Space demo? I saw you sent me a picture.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Yeah, I sent you that picture, and then I pushed the button to move my character, and I shut it off just so I could tell you I played.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
No, I mean that's what I figured. I played the first level.
I played through the first like chapter. I got through all of 0. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many times did you die?
I think that's about as far as I got at Comic-Con when I played it there too.
Yeah,
How many times did I die?
Yeah.
I think like 150. Dude, I took notes, by the way. I'm gonna have to send you like my initial thoughts, and one of my notes was
Fuck you.
no. Well, I wanted to put that, but I was like, that's too cliche. But like, let me say fuck you in like a more alliterative sense. No, I was gonna say that quite honestly, like the first several levels of that game are like fine, and then it like jumps in difficulty like astronomically, because I played through it's like the first 5 or 6 levels. I was like, yeah, okay, I died once in a while. Oh, I'm figuring out what's happening. Okay, I see what's going on here. This is getting a little bit tougher. And then like the next level, you have to go through here, and then you're up here, and then over here.
7.
Yeah, 7. It had to be level 7 where you have to like go all over the place. I died like 60 times. I was like, what? I'm like, I don't know about your difficulty scaling system here.
That's funny. Dude, yeah, I've changed that level. Oh, I mean, I've changed all the levels probably like at least 5 times.
I think
Like, yeah,
half
but
of if that level was cut in half, it would have been enough for that level. It's like the fact that it makes you go through it, like it's so long to get through it. There's
yeah.
so many points of failure. I'm like, this is rough.
I
It's so brutal.
was like, man, you didn't even get to lock. There's locks and keys.
I just
And
started that because that's in the next section,
yeah,
right? Yeah, I just started like the first level of that, and I was like, I finally like made my way to that key, and then just kept dying. I was like, all right, I'm going to bed. It was like 2 a.m.
because yeah, that's like for like level like I try to do like usually like the first like 3 levels as like pretty easy. Like you're kind of it's kind of like introducing like the new mechanic and stuff, and then usually like 4 and 5 is like the intermediate kind of, and then like 6 and 7 are like the harder, like hardest, and then 8 is usually like 8 because there's 2 secret levels. There's like if you get all the diamonds, it unlocks the 8th level of that world, and then
I thought
there's
you had to get the diamonds.
you don't not to beat the level you don't.
Oh,
It's
I
like
thought
a
you did.
it's like a little pickup, but if you do pick them all up, then you unlock.
Because I didn't think I unlocked the 8th level in that first like world or whatever, but I thought I got all the diamonds. Maybe not.
Because the 8th level would have been you have to like it's almost like golf where you have to like jump and there's like a hole in the ground that's like twice the size of you and you have to fall through the middle of the floor and come out on the top and
Oh,
like
yeah, I played one like that. That was the 8th one?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
See,
so
that
then
one
you just
wasn't
get-
even as hard as the 7th one.
Well, yeah, because it's like
It was tough,
yeah,
though.
because like the 8th one is usually just like
It's got spikes all over both sides, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
up in the middle, and you start on the left.
yeah you start on the
I
left
played that
and then
one.
you kind of
You
go
get those
there's like the three
those
pillars
blocks. Yeah.
yeah
I thought that one was actually pretty clever. But yeah, that's weird. Because when I went back to select a level after I finished that whole first world, I went back to select a level and I saw how I can move around and select all the ones I had completed, but I don't think it was letting me go to number 8, which is weird. I found a bug.
I'll have to look at it. I was like you should be able to but yeah, and then like the 9th one usually it depends on like because it's always in like a different like 8 is always after 7 but 9 is like always connected to like a random level. And so depending on where it's at in the world kind of determines the difficulty. Like in in chapter 0 it's connected to level 2, so I've only introduced like jumping and like the switching or whatever for that mechanic, so that's all you do. Whereas in like one level it's like it's like connected to like level 6, so it's like that chapter 9 level's a lot harder because it's connected to like a harder level, and like there's been more shit since then that's been introduced and stuff.
Interesting.
But that's cool. I know you're not like a hardcore platformer and stuff, so I
Right.
appreciate
Yeah. Like it's not the kind of game I would normally play. Like I've never played like Super Meat Boy. I actually bought Super Meat Boy when I was on sale because I'm like, I gotta play this game. Everyone's played it. But yeah, like games that like frustrate me, the games that are like meant to be like that type of frustrating, I just like usually lose my patience with pretty quick. I will say though that with Negative Space, like it doesn't feel threatening in a sense. Like it's challenging, like it's super fucking hard, but like Super Meat Boy, you got like spinning blades and it just like seems angry,
Yeah.
But with your game, I felt like it's a pretty chill experience. So like I see what I need to do, I'm just not pulling it off yet, but I'm just gonna try again because I don't feel like I'm like I don't know. I don't feel like I'm being attacked.
Yeah,
Or,
you're not like instantly defeated.
Exactly. So it is pretty easy to just keep trying and keep going that one more. So yeah, good job with that.
Well, thank you.
It is
honestly.
enjoyable to play. It's just really hard.
You're like, I just fucking hate you. And your shitty level 7 that makes me wrap around over. Yeah, there's been ones where PJ's like, man, if you just had one checkpoint right here.
Right. Checkpoints would be amazing.
I've gone back
Checkpoints
and
would be
forth
amazing.
with PJ on checkpoints so many fucking times. 'Cause I'm like, I know, but the point's like, it's just like the
point is
one-
because you want
just
to get to the point
one
where like you
level.
can prove that you can do it all in one
Yeah.
shot, and when you can, then you feel amazing. Like I get that, I do get that, and like there's like like level 7 was one of those ones where like I had to play it so many damn times to beat
Yeah.
it that by the last couple of times I was playing it, the first half of it wasn't that hard anymore. Like I was able to get through it usually without messing up. And so like that last time when I finally beat it, it didn't even take that long. So it's like, well, yeah, if there was a checkpoint there, that takes some of the difficulty out, you know.
Yeah.
But it is painful to have to go through all that. That's why I don't think that I wouldn't necessarily say you have to put checkpoints in, but I would just say that like that jump from level 6 to level 7 being such a long level, I think is where it really hurts. If level 7 was half as long, if you have to do you're teaching them to do the same things the level 7 taught you to do, but in half the length, I think that would have felt better, you know. But
Yeah.
I'm not here to crap on your game.
You're like JK, and you just lay into me for another 20 minutes. But like I know,
No offense, but you know, fuck you.
what was I gonna say? But like I know there was one level. It's funny because I completely changed it, and watching PJ's face when he played the initial version of it, because like one of the whole points was, it was like I'd say maybe about as long, like, because level 7's like as long a level as you're ever gonna play. Like
Okay.
that's the max.
Wow.
Like
Okay.
as like in terms of length, like it's all over the screen, and
Mhm.
like there's only one level that like the camera actually moves with how long it is, but there's not like a lot to do. It's not as like intense of like wrapping all over the place and stuff. But PJ played one that was about as long as 7, but the whole point was you go through it, and then it's like you get this key at the very end, and then you have to literally play the entire level backwards again. And he was like, dude, like, and then you die, and then it's like you have to go through it again. He's
That
like,
is
he's like,
evil.
fuck this. Like,
That
he
is
was
evil.
so mad, and I like literally completely changed the level.
Oh,
And then he
man.
was like, he's like, yeah, I like this a lot better. But he was so mad that initial level, like,
I don't blame him.
he was like, what? He's like, no. Like, he was just,
Yeah,
no.
like, no,
He's like,
no, I proved that I could do it. I'm done.
he got like all the way to the end, because there's this like tall thing that you had to go, like, and you had to like jump up and then like jump over 2 spikes and then like fall down, and he like jumped up and then like hit the wall of spikes and died, and he was like, no, and he like threw the controller down, and, and you know PJ, and he's just like, no. He's like, I'm done.
And PJ doesn't get angry at games like he's like super laid back. It takes a lot to piss him off.
Yeah.
I hope that you're putting levels in there that are just for PJ, that aren't even going to be in the game, just to fuck with
Just
PJ.
PJ's levels.
That'd be
yeah.
great, because
Yeah.
you know he's going to play it. I got an Easter egg in Final Fantasy Renaissance that was just for PJ, because I knew that he was playing it, and I knew he was playing it a specific way, so there's something that only he would see.
Dude, I was like, does he know about it yet?
Yeah, he found it.
What
yeah.
is it?
So I'm not going to say exactly what, but because I was thinking I'll probably just leave it in the actual game, but I like it being an Easter egg that no one's really going to find easily at all. If you know PJ and you know anything about his kids, you can figure it out, because what I did was I knew that every time he played the game and he used the warrior job class or fighter job class, he named it after his oldest son. And so I have an Easter egg in there where if you use a fighter that has that name, it changes the graphics to look like his son. Yeah.
Is that
pretty
in the
awesome.
current build?
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
It totally is.
I'm
But
gonna
you
have to try it on a new game then
Yeah.
and see.
Yeah, do it. Yeah, and it seriously looks like his son. Because the fighter already kind of looked like him anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and he loved it. Like, it was great because the first time that he played it, after I did that, he's like, oh my God. He's like, so, I don't know if something's wrong, but like, my fighter's black. I was like, yeah. I'm like, that's interesting. And he's just like, did you do that on purpose? I was like, maybe. And I was like, did you try creating other fighters? And he's like, no. I'm like, why don't you make a party of them? So he makes a party, because then they all have different names. And he's like, oh my God. He's like, that's amazing.
That's
So it's pretty cool.
awesome.
And yeah, I have an idea for something I want to do for his other son. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So stuff like that's really fun, because PJ's been pretty like religious about playing my builds and giving me feedback and everything, because he knows, if there's anybody that knows Final Fantasy 1 better than I do, it's PJ. Like, that guy is a wealth of knowledge. Like, he just has a memory for this stuff that I don't. Like I know the game super well, but like, he remembers like all kinds of stuff. He can tell me like, hey, I went into a battle and my fighter attacked, this monster and did this much damage, and it shouldn't be able to do that much damage at that level to that monster. And I was like, Jesus Christ, like, what, are you serious? Like, how do you know? And he's like, no, because at this level you should, like, your max stat should be like this. And like, he just knows all this stuff. And like, or like, you get into a fight with, you know, three gray imps and like four, or no, that's a bad example. Let's say like 4 gray imps and 6 regular imps. He's like, oh no, dude, like that, you couldn't do that in the original game because there's a max of 9 monsters on the screen, and you don't ever have a formation of monsters at this part of the world that has that many gray imps. And I'm like, oh my god, how do you know that? So I gotta go fix that.
It probably has to do with the fact that he was like 24 when Final Fantasy came out.
I know he wasn't.
Dude, we josh on him all the time about how old he is.
Why?
Because he's
He doesn't
like
look that old.
Well, no, it's not that he looks old, but like what was it? Like me and Matt were one time when we were working on super fun stuff, like me and Matt were talking about, I think it was like Mario Kart, like Double Dash, or like or Mario Kart 64, like one of those, and like PJ was talking about, he's like, how in college, like, he's like, yeah, he's like, in college for like Mario Kart 64, he's like, yeah, we'd go over to like this dude's dorm and like do Mario. I was like,
yeah,
dude, I was like, that's crazy. You'd go over to your friend's dorm. He's like, yeah. I was like, I go to my friend's house. I was like, because I was like 9, and he's like, dude, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, so I always give him shit about how much older he is than like me and Matt.
He's only a year older than me.
You like feel better. You're like, whoo.
You see these white hairs right here? Yeah.
Oh man. So where can our listeners follow your progress and stuff?
Well, I have a Facebook, a Twitter, and a Discord server all set up. The Facebook and the Twitter are for Renaissance Games. The Discord's just for Final Fantasy Renaissance specifically. It's a place where people can chat about the game and ask me questions and report bugs and get the latest build and stuff like that. But the easiest place to go, you can get to all of those things, you can get to links to everything from, is my website, which is rengames.us. So instead of having to spell out all of Renaissance, because that's a fun word to spell sometimes, just keep it simple. rengames.us is the website, and you can get to like my social media links and stuff from there.
Yeah, and on the Discord, I know he has, you can like go on the Google Drive and play the build and stuff, and I reckon there's like I was surprised how quickly you got, like, I mean, there's like at least 25 people like on your Discord like already, which it was like every time I went on there I saw like a bunch of like welcome blah blah blah. I'm like, holy shit, like
the first day there was like a bunch, because I basically sent like a mass invite to like all the people that I game with on Discord already, like, that I know through Discord. So I just sent an invite to everyone there, and like most of them joined it. There's a few stragglers. I'm gonna have to.
You're like, the others, we're not friends anymore.
Yeah, I don't talk to them anymore. No, it's been great. Like I said, it's been pretty active. There's at least a few people that are regularly like, chatting with me, and 1 or 2 that are actually playing it. Like each build, they're like, oh cool, I'm gonna check it out, and then they report back with like, okay, I finished playing through the whole demo with all these other job classes. Here's my full report. I'm like, oh, this is amazing, So yeah, really good stuff. Got some bug fixes in the works right now. I'm hoping to get another build for that within this week, I guess, probably.
Fun stuff. I know I definitely want to get a crack at it now and then find that PJ Easter egg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, check it out. I think you'll like it.
Is there anything else you wanna end with before?
I can't think of anything. You're staring at me again.
Oh.
Is there something I should want to end with?
No, I mean, I'm just looking at those nice little gray wispy hairs that you brought to everyone's attention.
Yeah. No, I think they're white and they're not even gray. I got white hairs in my beard. That's how old I am. The ripe old age of 37.
Raising teenagers will do that.
Seriously, yeah. That's a whole nother type of game. We could do a whole podcast on that.
Exactly. But I think that's gonna wrap it up for this week. We got another guest for next week, and by then I'll have seen The Matrix, and then that should be good. Thanks for listening, and that's a fucking wrap. That's a wrap.